Listen, we got so much that's still going to be happening here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Amazing family. I do believe that we, in fact, have got so much that is going to be going on. However, right about now, I'm so excited for us to be sitting down with someone who is truly incredible, someone who I believe is not just going to be releasing you from a belief that you might have had, but someone who is also going to be allowing you to believe that you, my friend, can be wrong, and it's more than okay. What are the freedoms of being wrong? How can we, in fact, come out of it in a better way? Well, today we get to draw on 35 years of experience with none other than Claudia, who is here to tell us all about her brand new book, The Joy of Being Wrong. I know, it sounds like it's upside down, but it is definitely not. And this morning, I am so excited for us to get into this conversation because it not only offers new perspectives, but so much more. Everyone, please can we welcome Claudia. Claudia, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Lovely to be here.
It's lovely to have you with us.
You.
And I feel like we all looked at the cover and we went, Haibo.
Yes. You're not the first.
Yes, we got confused. Claudia, speak to us about this. What sparked the idea of The Joy of Being Wrong?
Well, as a therapist over 35 years, I took it very seriously to always consider my own experience so that I could work with people in a more honest way.
Yes.
And I had a very difficult home experience looking after my late husband and working and juggling in a family. And a lot of the time I felt quite like I've got to feel differently. This is not a good way of just working, feeling like a machine a lot of the time. So I spoke a lot to other people, and which is, I think, responsible when you're a therapist.
Yeah.
And I was involved with a metaphysicist who had a very particular view on life. And she said to me, you're a martyr. And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, you're a martyr, you're not considering your own feelings, and you insist on being right and thinking that you've got to do things in a particular way, and you've got to change your mind.
Yeah.
Things like you've got to be sacrificial to be loving. Things like love is blind loyalty. And I had to look at those big issues and realize that there were certain things I was thinking that I was wrong about, that I always needed to do everything myself.
Yeah.
I was not good at asking for help.
Yeah.
And so I questioned some of my deep core beliefs, and I worked like that with my clients, and we actually came to realize that if you allow yourself to be wrong about some of your basic presumptions, like the world is not safe, people will not help you, don't share your feelings with people, and for a lot of women, it's a man's world.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you stick with those presumptions, you'll be right, you'll fulfill prophecies, but you'll be unhappy.
Yeah.
So when your friend forgets your birthday, you'll say, I knew he would.
Yeah.
And when someone lets you down, you'll say, I'm not surprised. My advice is be surprised.
Sure.
Change your mind about some basic presumptions that you've been carrying around your whole life, and you've got a chance to really be happy.
Oh, my word. Claudia Davemes, you're coming for me. Like, even all the things that you said was just honestly something that resonated with me. You know, even I think one of the biggest ones that you said was that in order to be loving, you don't have to be sacrificial.
Exactly.
That is so powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think a lot of us see it that way, and especially having grown up with our parents sacrificing for us, it almost translates into that.
Yes.
But I want to touch on something else that you also said, you know, where you told us about how you were caring for your husband while he was ill. Can you talk to us a little bit about how that illness, even just having to step into that position, sort of allowed you to be able to outpour into this book the way that you have?
Well, in the first place, it actually strengthened my martyr because we were very young. I just had my second baby, and my husband was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and very quickly he landed in a wheelchair, and we looked after him for about 30 years. So that strengthened my martyr, and I thought, I've just got to be strong, I've got to bring up my boys, I've got to run my private practice, and I've got to be tough. And along the way, I changed my mind and realized, what about self-preservation? What about the fact that I could love and care for him deeply, but also look after myself at the same time? With my clients, I was exploring their story. They could see my story, and so they trusted me a lot because they could see I was living in a very real way. They came to my home, they saw my situation. And so for me, working with people is you can only be good as a therapist if you're honest about your own work in your own personal life.
And make them realize that you are human too.
Exactly, and they could see that. They could see that completely. They used to often sit and chat to my husband under the fig tree where he sat in his wheelchair. So they could see it was a very real home.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what made it a lot more personal and helpful.
That's incredible, Claudia. And of course, I know that, you know, there comes a point in each of our journeys where there's almost like a pivotal moment that makes us decide that we now need to go in this direction or that direction.
Yes.
Do you have a pivotal moment that, you know, sort of challenged your need to always be right?
Yes. I had a neck fusion at 42 from lifting my husband in the wheelchair and doing too much physical work.
Really?
And when I had my back operation in my 50s, I called it donkey damage.
Yes.
And I said to my wonderful neurosurgeon, I'm not going to be a donkey anymore, I'm going to start thinking. And I got a carer, a full-time carer, and that was a pivotal moment when this wonderful man, Edward, walked into our lives. And I realized I could love my husband actually more responsibly by being his wife and not his carer all day long. And that was probably the most pivotal moment where I allowed someone in to help me with him.
Yeah. And I mean, that goes back to where you were saying, you know, challenging the, I don't need to ask for help.
Exactly, do everything myself.
Yeah, that's incredible, Claudia. And I love that you took that from that, because some people would have taken negativity out of it. Yeah. But you took a positive outlook. Yes. And this is why we're able to trust you with our emotions, Claudia. And why I honestly believe, you know, that there's so many different ways in which we are able to move forward, right? Yes. But now, talk to me about the ways in which, you know, your therapy practice has even evolved in terms of you now embracing the idea of being wrong and how you help your patients.
Well, when I turned 60, I decided that there's something called emotional inheritance, which the book is, I write about it quite a lot, and that is from generation to generation, there's something passed down from generations that we're not even aware of. Sure. And in my family, the generations were widows. Oh, wow. Widows who were widowed young and looked after their families and never remarried or never found love again. Yeah. And I decided when I turned 60, I was going to sell my home and end my practice and move and travel. And my 2 sons gave me permission. Beautiful. And that was after my husband passed away. Aww. And I decided I needed to explore and change my life and not just be a widow working and having a different view on life. And so that's what I've done. And one of the most important things about being wrong is I've allowed myself to find love again without feeling that I've betrayed my first husband. Yes. Oh my goodness, Claudia, I love this. Thank you. I feel like you've freed so many people without even knowing it, just by having this conversation with us. And well done on such a beautiful book. I mean, I feel like already you're getting such amazing feedback, and this is why we're celebrating you this morning. But we're also keeping you around because you're going to be letting us in on a few things in terms of relationships. And Mzansi, this is why you need to make sure you stick around. And friend, I want your insight, okay? And like I said, Claudia is going to be helping us out just in terms of us and this question that we have for you this morning. We want you to come through on 082, or rather, forgive me, 063-408-8863, and let us know, do you think always wanting to be right affects your relationship? Be honest. This is a safe space. It's your Feel Good Breakfast Show family. Send us a voice note. We want to hear about it right here on S3. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be back after this. Welcome back. You're right here on your Feel Good Breakfast Show indeed. And this morning, my friend, we are talking about how we can feel good from the inside. One of the most incredible ways is by going to a therapist. And we got somebody here who has 35 years experience and has honestly helped so many people get to the best version of themselves. But this morning, we're doing so by celebrating her brand new book, The Joy of Being Wrong. And I told you earlier on that we had nice things for you, all in the name of getting to know this beautiful lady, Claudia Davemes. And I tell you, my friend, we have a copy to give away. So listen to this. To get your copy, you are welcome to pop through an email to claudiadavemes@gmail.com, right? But then that's not all, because we are giving you that beautiful opportunity to enter and hopefully take away a signed copy from Claudia. And my friend, all you have to do is head on over to our Expresso Show pages on social media and follow the following question, or rather answer the following question. How do you think embracing the idea of not always being right can give you more joy in your life? Let us know and head on over to @Expresso Show on social media. And friend, terms and conditions always apply. You can find them on expressoshow.com. But all the best, because I'm hoping you're going to be able to win yourself
of this beautiful book. Right about now, though, we're jumping on into Relationship Tuesday with Claudia. And Claudia, I need to ask you, in terms of relationships and just talking about them, you know, do you generally find that a lot of couples always just want to be right?
Absolutely. Relationships can be summed up as a power struggle, unfortunately. Most couples spend so much time finding a need to, someone has to be right and someone has to be wrong.
Yes.
And so people don't even think rationally if that's really what they believe, but they feel, especially women today who feel they have to assert themselves very quickly because of the past history. Women feel they've got to be tough and they've got to be smart and they've got to act in a way where they immediately have to have a sense of power.
Yes.
And so too many relationships are fraught with tension about who's right and who's wrong.
Sure.
In fact, if you have an adult relationship, being wrong is not about being weak. It's actually a great sense of relief and humility.
Yes, and I mean, I feel like the Expresso Show family was even talking about how it can allow for a deeper connection to happen, actually.
Yes.
So then can you talk to us just about how the need to be right affects communication negatively? You know, where does it actually get us to?
Well, if you've got a predetermined idea in your mind and you and I start dating and you've already decided that I'm going to be a certain way, that men are a certain way.
Yes.
You already are acting in a tough way. You might have bravado. You might not want me to know how you feel. You've already made a decision about me that's not me. And you're not going to give me a chance to actually respond to you.
Yes.
So it means that you're guarded and that you already are on the back foot. And so anything I say, you'll be defensive about rather than open to.
Sure.
And so people don't realize that when they meet another person, they have a huge predetermined idea that they stick to and that they're not actually very open.
Yeah.
And that's why relationships have such difficulty after the initial honeymoon, where people are excited and pheromones and lust and all those great feelings.
Yes.
Then you very soon think, uh-oh, I've had this argument before, I've heard these words before, I'm not feeling so good anymore.
Yes.
And that's usually what happens in relationships.
Sure, and I mean, I guess it takes a little bit of a sense of vulnerability to be able to get to those deeper connections.
Yes.
Can you talk to us a little bit just about how you think, you know, admitting you're wrong can foster vulnerability and even trust in a relationship? How do we get there?
First of all, I just want to clarify that vulnerability is a powerful emotion and it's actually not used correctly. People mistake vulnerability for exposure.
Sure.
So vulnerability is, I want you to know how I feel. So if I say to you, Zanele, I'm really not used to asking for help.
Yes.
And I'm feeling very anxious about trusting you.
Yeah.
That's called vulnerability. I've wanted you to know how I feel. Now, in that moment, if you choose to say something negative against me, that really isn't me.
Yeah.
That means that you're not a good person.
Sure.
But the fact that I've opened up to you and told you that I don't know how to trust gives me and you an opportunity for us to go down a very different road. So it's a great sign of strength, actually, to be vulnerable.
That's incredible. And the way you just put it, Claudia, I mean, I feel like I might have heard it somewhere along my life, but the way that you just put it, because I think you just, you made it almost seem like it's accessible, that I can actually say, hey, it's difficult for me to trust you.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The other important point is, if we speak from a child's perspective, then we say things like, I don't want this, or why are you doing this? I call it teapot language.
Okay.
Why are you being like this? You're never nice to me. But when you speak as an adult and say, you know, it was quite hurtful, you didn't call me on my birthday.
Yeah.
Or wow, I really miss you, that you've been working all these nights. You see, there's no accusation.
Yeah.
And if there's no blame, then people actually can become quite intimate. But most couples use the blame scenario because they don't want the other person to see them in a weak state. And that's, again, the strength versus weakness element that comes in all the time.
Sure, that's so powerful. And there are people who didn't call me for my birthday. I'm gonna deal with them, and I'm gonna use exactly what you just said, Claudia.
So you just say, I am disappointed you didn't call me. I would have loved to have heard from you.
Yes.
See, it's not an accusation. but it's an
how I'm
ownership.
feeling.
It's an ownership of feelings, which is actually the most important thing. Ownership versus blame.
Claudia, I feel like you are equipping us today. And this is why I want to jump into this question, because I feel like sometimes people just rush to apologize.
Yes.
They don't actually take the time to understand what exactly it is that they made the other person feel, or whatever it may be that happened. Talk to us a little bit, please, about, you know, the difference between apologizing and actually taking time to understand.
Well, I think it goes back to what we've just said. If I say to you, tell me how you feel, and you say, I feel quite disappointed. I felt that you didn't make enough effort for me.
Yes.
I can say to you, I'm sorry I let you down. Because you've told me how I feel.
Yeah.
When we don't know what we're apologizing for, then it's a case of just getting the mess out of the way, which people prefer to do. Sorry can mean nothing. I prefer a question like, in what way have I let you down?
Yes.
In what way have I hurt you? In what way do you feel disappointed?
Sure.
And it's a simple question, but a very profound one.
I love that. Claudia, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And I'm so glad you're not going anywhere, because there's a part 2 to this.
Good.
And my beautiful Expresso family, this is why we want you to come and be a part of the conversation. It is all about where we are asking you, do you think that constantly trying to be right about everything in a relationship can cause tension? Or do you believe it's important to always stand your ground, and why? At Expresso Show is where you can find us. And remember, you can also send us that voice note, 063-408-8863. Right about now, my friend, I'm here to let you in on the fact that you do need to stick around. Why? What is the reason? Well, my lovely, I do know that coming on up, we're going to be getting into your answers in terms of that. And also, there's still a whole lot more just to be able to wrap up the show. Stick around. You're still on your Feel Good Breakfast Show.